Welcome to this tutorial on debugging security exceptions in Java. In today's session, we'll dive deep into what security exceptions are, why they occur, and how to effectively debug them using practical examples. Let's get started. First, let's understand what a security exception is. In Java, security exceptions are thrown when a security violation is detected by the security manager. This can happen in various scenarios, such as when trying to access a file or network resource without proper permissions. Now, let's look at an example that triggers a security exception. In this example, we're going to try reading a file without having the right permissions. Here, we attempt to open a file. If the Java Security Manager prevents this access due to insufficient permissions, a security exception will be thrown, which we catch and handle accordingly. To run this code and see it in action, ensure you have a security policy set up that grants the necessary permissions. If you haven't done this before, let's quickly create a simple policy file. Once the policy file is created, you can run your Java application with this policy using the command below. This will help us see if the issue is really about file access permissions. If everything is configured correctly, you should see a message indicating the file was opened successfully. However, if you remove the grant permission from your policy file, you should catch a security exception instead. Now let's look into some common security exception scenarios, starting with network access. When your application attempts to connect to a network resource without the necessary permissions, you'll encounter a security exception. In this code, we attempt to connect to http://example.com. Just like the file example, if the security manager prevents this operation, we'll catch a security exception. To ensure that we have the right policies, you need to adjust your policy file to include network permissions. Modify the policy file like this. With the updated policy, recompile and rerun your network security demo class. If you configured everything correctly, you should see a successful connection message. Next, let's discuss debugging techniques for tracking down these exceptions. A good approach is to utilize logging. Instead of just printing exception messages to the console, let's log those exceptions for more clarity. By logging the exceptions, we can capture the stack trace and the detailed context of where the error occurred, which provides invaluable information for debugging. Another effective debugging practice is to inspect the security policy itself. Ensure that the sources of your policies are reliable and that you're not inadvertently missing configurations that lead to exceptions. Let's talk about programmatic ways to handle the security manager. You can check permissions before executing crucial operations with the check permission method. Here's how you can do that. In this example, we use access controller to run potentially risky code as a privileged action, ensuring we have the right permissions in place beforehand. It's also vital to keep your environment in check. Ensure your Java version supports the necessary security features you are working with, and verify if there are updates or patches available that fix known issues. Let's wrap up our discussion on debugging security exceptions with a few best practices. Always start with clear understanding of permissions your application requires and set those in your policy files. Review your code for areas where security exceptions might be thrown, and implement logging to catch those exceptions gracefully. Remember to test your application in different environments. Security configurations often differ between development, testing, and production, which might lead to unexpected exceptions. Keeping your environments consistent can save a lot of debugging time. Now that you have a solid understanding of debugging security exceptions, I encourage you to explore further into Java's security model, as there are more advanced features and configurations that can empower your development. Thank you for watching this tutorial. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more programming tutorials, and don't forget to leave your comments below on what you'd like to learn next.